So, imagine for a second that we're sitting here in March 2026, which, well, we are.
Yeah, we are.
And if you've been paying attention to your desktop recently, or really just trying to get literally any work done in a digital space, you've probably noticed that the definition of using AI has, it's fundamentally shifted right under our noses. It just feels different now.
It really has.
Yeah.
Looking back at 2024 or even early 2025, the relationship we had with these systems was very transactional.
Hmm.
You typed into a box, you waited, you got some text back. It was kind of like sending a letter and waiting for a reply.
Yeah.
And honestly, it feels almost vintage now.
Right. It's like using a telegraph when everyone else is on a video call, because it's no longer just about a chatbot answering questions like some smart student who sat in the front row of class. We are talking about an entity that can literally take over your desktop, act as a legitimate coworker, and build full-blown applications on the fly. So today, we are doing a deep dive into SkillClaude.
And just to set the stage here early on, SkillClaude isn't a single product name that you just go buy off a shelf.
Okay.
It's the term the industry, and specifically the source material we have today, is using to describe this entire suite of advanced capabilities released by Anthropic, stuff that has really matured by this spring of 2026.
Yeah, and we've pulled together a massive stack of verified reports for this deep dive. We've got official announcements from Anthropic and some really interesting independent benchmarks from early this year, just to get a handle on all of this.
Because the goal here is simple, right? We need to cut through the noise. There's so much hype. There always is with AI.
Always.
But we want to know, is Claude actually ready to be a primary driver of your productivity right now, or is this all just a very expensive party trick?
To answer that for you, we're going to unpack three main pillars today. We've got modular skills, those interactive artifacts everyone keeps talking about, and the absolute sci-fi turned reality feature, which is computer use.
Let's start with that first pillar, because I think it's the foundation of literally everything else we're going to talk about, the concept of SkillClaude, and specifically modular skills.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for a long time, an AI model was just, well, it's just a model, a static brain in a jar.
Yeah.
But SkillClaude implies something different, so help me visualize this. Back in 2024, if I wanted an AI to code, I had to paste in a bunch of context, maybe some documentation, and just cross my fingers. Is a modular skill just a pre-saved prompt?
No, it's a bit more sophisticated than that. Think of it less like a text file you're pasting in, and more like, well, think of the Matrix.
Like, I know Kung Fu.
Essentially, yes. But instead of Kung Fu, it's I know how to reconcile your bank statement.
Okay.
When Neo needs to fly a helicopter, he doesn't read a manual, right?
Yeah.
The operator loads the helicopter pilot program directly into his brain. That is what SkillClaude does. It's dynamic loading.
So the model basically sits there, empty, or I guess general purpose, until I ask for something specific.
Right. It represents this massive shift toward an agentic system. The feature, known as Claude Skills, actually launched back in October 2025. But it has really matured throughout the first few months of 2026. And the magic words you'll see in the reports are composable and portable.
Define those for me.
So composable means these skills can be combined automatically. And portable means they work everywhere, across the web interface, the API, Claude code. But the dynamic nature is really the key here. Claude isn't just a static brain anymore. It effectively loads the specific instructions and scripts it needs only when it needs them. It grabs a module, becomes an absolute expert in a super niche task instantly, and then unloads it when it's done.
Which, let's be honest, is infinitely more useful on a Tuesday morning than Kung Fu.
Exactly.
And the source material had some incredible examples of this in action. One that really stood out to me was generating presentations.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge one.
Because we've all struggled with getting AI to make slides that don't look super generic or where it hallucinates the formatting completely. But with a presentation skill, users are generating decks that use their exact corporate branding, the fonts, the layout rules, everything.
And that is the power of the module. You define the constraints once. You say, this is our font, this is our logo placement. Never, ever use Comic Sans.
Please never.
Right. And the skill enforces them every single time. It's not guessing anymore. It's following a strict rule set that's basically overlaid on top of the creative intelligence.
Another big one from the reports was automatic bank reconciliation.
This is huge for the finance sector. Imagine a skill that can look at the raw data, understand the weird transaction codes, and match them up without hallucinating wildly. It's essentially loading a forensic accountant module.
And for the developers listening, there's a skill for translating code between completely different programming languages.
Which is a massive time saver when you're migrating legacy systems. Say you have this ancient database in COBOL and you need it in Python.
Right.
You load the translator skill, and it handles the syntax perfectly. It knows the quirks of both.
And one more that I just found really cool was creating product catalogs in seconds. You just feed it the raw, unstructured data, and the skill formats it perfectly for your specific e-commerce platform.
It really highlights that shift we talked about from chatting to actually doing. But if skills are the engine, the next pillar is the interface. And that brings us to artifacts.
Oh man, I love artifacts. This feature has been around since mid-2025, but it feels like it's hit a whole new level recently.
It really has. Artifacts allows Claude to generate interactive applications directly inside the chat window.
And here's where it gets really interesting for people who aren't technical at all. This requires zero coding knowledge. None. You aren't writing Python, you're just asking for what you want in plain English.
Or Spanish or French. You give a natural language command, and a fully editable functional tool just appears. It shifts the user relationship from reading text to using tools that were built just for you.
Let's talk about the sentiment analyzer mentioned in the reports, because the source material had a verified example of this that honestly blew my mind.
Impressive.
It wasn't just text. The user pasted in, what was it, like 500 messy customer reviews?
Yeah, raw, unstructured text. Exactly the kind of stuff that usually takes a human hours to tag manually in a spreadsheet.
Right. And in seconds, the artifact window pops up on the side. But it's not a text summary. It's a fully interactive dashboard. It has pie charts for positive versus negative, a word cloud of complaints.
And the kicker is that you can actually click the pie chart. If you click negative, it filters the raw text to show you exactly why people are unhappy. It is building a custom software interface on the fly just to help you understand your data.
But my favorite example from the sources was a bit more, I guess, niche. A tool for organizing pet photos with automatic recognition.
Of course.
No, seriously. You upload a heap of photos, and it builds a little app that sorts them by dog, cat, or generic blur. It's quirky, but it proves the point perfectly. You can build software for anything now, even the trivial stuff.
And that is a profound shift in how we think about computing. Software creation used to be expensive and slow. You would never hire a developer to build a cat sorting app for your personal use on a weekend.
Never.
But with artifacts, software becomes disposable. You can build an app just for one afternoon task and then discard it.
That is a crazy thought. Disposable software, like a paper plate for your data.
Yeah.
But, okay, if artifacts are about building tools, this next pillar is about, well, replacing the operator entirely. We have to talk about computer use.
This is the agentic leap. This is the feature that made everyone sit up and pay attention when it went into beta back in late 2024. And now, in March 2026, it's matured significantly.
Okay, I have to pause here. Because what you are describing, an AI that can see my screen, physically move my mouse cursor and type for me, that sounds incredible. But it also triggers literally every cybersecurity alarm bell in my head.
You are definitely not alone there. The idea that the AI is taking the wheel is a genuinely scary concept for a lot of IT departments.
Does it have free reign? Can it just wake up, decide to open my email, and start sending resignations to my boss?
Thankfully, no. The verified reports emphasize that this is a strict permission-based system.
Okay.
It's on a leash. You authorize specific sessions. But what's really funny, and the source material leans into this heavily, is that even when you do give it the wheel, it doesn't drive like a Formula One racer.
No.
No, it drives, well, like an intern on their very first day. For instance, it typically operates at a fixed resolution of 1366 by 79060.
That's vintage. That's a laptop screen from 2012.
It is. But that's the safe zone for its vision model, so the buttons on the screen are big enough for it to reliably read. It defaults to using the Firefox browser. And sure, it can handle multi-step web forms and manage multiple tabs, but it can be really clumsy.
Clumsy how? Like dropping the mouse?
Virtually, yeah. Sometimes it misses a click by a few pixels, sometimes it just stalls while it thinks about what to do next. It's actually described in the source as having bad days, like a human on a Monday morning. It's miraculous that it works at all. But it's not speed running your workflow just yet. Watching it navigate can sometimes feel like watching a grandparent learn to use a computer for the first time.
I kind of love that. It makes it feel a little less like a Terminator and more like a really helpful but slightly uncoordinated assistant.
Exactly.
So practically speaking, despite the clumsiness, what are people actually doing with this feature in early 2026?
Office work is the big one. We mentioned bank reconciliation earlier as a skill, but with computer use, Claude can actually go open Microsoft Excel, then open your banking portal in a separate browser, download the PDF, read it, and then go manually update the spreadsheet cells.
Wow. So it's doing the swivel chair work, moving data from app A to app B because they don't have a native API integration.
Precisely. It creates reports by pulling data from various incompatible apps. It's bridging the gap between legacy systems that just don't talk to each other.
But the sources also mention some, let's say, more creative uses.
Oh, the hackathons, yes. There were verified examples of Claude controlling physical robotic arms via interface software on the desktop.
And the anti-CAPTCHA chat box.
Which is just deeply ironic.
Yeah.
An AI explicitly built to defeat the pragmatity.
Yeah.
Prove you are not a robot test.
It really feels like we are living in the future, even if the future is slightly lower resolution than we expected. But we have to look under the hood for a minute. What is actually powering all of this right now?
Right. As of February 2026, we are looking at two main powerhouses driving the Claude ecosystem.
First up, the heavyweight. Claude Opus 4.6, released February 5th, 2026.
This is the big brain. And the key spec here that you'll see everywhere is the 1 million token context window.
And for the non-engineers listening to this deep dive, why does that number matter? Why should I care about tokens?
Think of the context window as the model's short-term memory. Most AI models in the past would forget what you said 10 minutes ago, or they'd lose track of the beginning of a long document by the time they reach the end.
Which is incredibly frustrating when you're working on a massive project.
Exactly. A 1 million token window means you can feed it an entire series of novels or a massive sprawling code base, and it holds all of that in its head at once. It doesn't just know the last sentence you typed. It knows the first sentence from 14 hours ago. That is absolutely crucial for these agentic tasks where it needs to work all day without losing the plot.
Okay, and then we have the sibling, Claude Sonnet 4.6, released just a couple of weeks later on February 17th.
The workhorse. It's faster, it's cheaper, and for 90% of tasks, it's nearly as capable as the previous versions of Opus. This is what you'd use for those quick artifacts or shorter, snappy interactions.
Now, we can't talk about these models in a vacuum. The sources provided some really detailed benchmarks comparing Claude to the broader competition, GPT-4o, Grok, Gemini. How does Anthropic stack up here?
It is a very tight race right now. In coding, specifically looking at the SWE bench verified tests, Claude Sonnet and Opus 4 series are leading, or tied, with Grok 4 code. We're talking success rates around 72 to 82%.
That is incredibly high for autonomous software engineering.
It is. Now, in math, looking at the AMI benchmarks, Grok 3 and 4 and Gemini usually take the gold there, but Opus 4.6 is right on their heels, hovering around 80 to 90%.
What about just general reasoning?
For general reasoning benchmarks like GPQA, Opus 4.6 is very competitive. It hits around 90%, fighting toe-to-toe with Gemini 3 Pro and Grok 4.
So if the raw numbers are this close across the board, why are so many people gravitating toward Claude for this specific type of work? What's the differentiator?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of skills and computer use, it's not just about raw IQ points. The expert consensus in the reports is that Claude's massive advantage lies in lower hallucination rates during those long, complex tasks.
Ah, the stamina factor.
Exactly. It doesn't go off the rails at hour 4, and it has significantly better tool use. Plus, Anthropic has always had that heavy focus on interpretability and safety. When you are giving an AI control of your literal mouse, safety stops being a corporate buzzword and starts being really important to you personally. You do not want to move fast and break things model clicking around your bank account.
That's a very valid point. I definitely want the measure twice, cut once model for that.
Precisely.
But let's do a reality check here. We've hyped it up, but the sources were brutally honest about the limitations. What is holding this back from total mainstream adoption?
Well, aside from the clumsiness of computer use we mentioned, there is a structural limitation, GUI dependence.
Right, because it relies on physically seeing the graphical user interface.
Yes, computer use is designed for visual interfaces. If you put it in a non-visual environment or some super customized command line setup that a senior dev uses, it's not as fluid. It's designed to act like a human user, with all the inherent inefficiencies that come with clicking and dragging.
And I imagine running the heavyweight Opus model as an agent isn't exactly cheap either.
Definitely not. Running Opus 4.6 24/7 as an autonomous agent gets expensive fast. There's a real cost-benefit analysis you have to do as a user. You have to look at a task and ask, is this worth $50 in compute credits, or should I just spend the hour and do it myself?
There's also the complexity factor to consider.
Yes. Creating high-quality skills or writing effective prompts for an agent, it isn't intuitive for everyone yet. There's a real learning curve. You have to learn how to manage your new digital coworker.
But there was one point in the source material that really stopped me in my tracks. It was this ethical and skill debate. And specifically, this term they used, skill atrophy.
This raises a profoundly important question.
Yeah.
And Anthropic's own internal studies from 2025 and 2026 actually highlight this exact risk.
It sounds terrifying, honestly, like our brains are muscles that are just shrinking.
It's the paradox of convenience, isn't it? If the AI always writes the code for you or always navigates the complex interface, you eventually lose the ability to do it yourself.
Right. If Claude can write the SQL query flawlessly, and Claude can format the Python script, and Claude can navigate the AWS console to deploy it, do I actually need to know how to do any of that?
In the short term, no. You get the result you wanted. But the risk, and this is a genuine documented risk in the reports, is that you slowly become a manager of things you don't actually understand.
You become the supervisor who can't step in if the
Yeah.
workers go on strike.
Precisely. If the system breaks down or the internet goes out, and you've let your mental muscles atrophy because the AI did all the heavy lifting for 2 solid years, you are totally helpless. You aren't a senior engineer anymore. You're just a prompt writer.
So what's the solution then? Do we just ban it in the workplace?
No, the genie is way out of the bottle on that one.
Yeah.
The solution suggested by the researchers is a deliberate learning mode.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning you as a professional have to consciously choose not to use the AI sometimes. It's almost like it's a deliberate hardship. You have to force yourself to do the hard work manually every so often just to keep your human competence sharp. You use the AI to accelerate your workflow, not to fully replace your fundamental understanding of the work.
That is such a crucial takeaway for anyone listening. It's really about balance. You have to look at the AI and tell it, no, sit this one out. I need to remember how to drive stick shift today.
It really is.
So pulling all of this together, what does this actually mean for you, the listener, right now?
I think the main synthesis here is that Claude in 2026 isn't trying to be the smartest chatbot in the room anymore.
Yeah.
It's competing to be the most useful coworker. It is giving you hands and eyes on the computer.
It's finally stepping out of the chat window.
Exactly.
So for the listener who is maybe a bit skeptical still, or just totally overwhelmed by the idea of an AI clicking their mouse, what should they do tomorrow morning?
I would encourage you to just try a low-stakes experiment.
Hmm.
Don't try to automate your entire job tomorrow. Just try to generate one simple artifact or test out one modular skill for a repetitive task.
Just to feel that shift we've been talking about.
Yes. Understand the shift from chatting to building. See what it actually feels like to have functional software appear on your screen just because you asked for it in plain English.
I love that. Start small, but you have to start.
Exactly.
We've covered a ton of ground today, from intelligent plugins all the way to clumsy mouse cursors. But I want to leave you with one final thought, bouncing off that idea of skill atrophy we just discussed.
Go for it.
If the AI can navigate the screen, click the buttons, and write the code flawlessly, are we simply becoming the managers of our own obsolescence? Or are we actually the architects of a totally new way of working where we don't even need to click the buttons anymore? Something to mull over while you stare at your screen today. Thanks for diving deep with us.